Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I am Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I am going to discuss the 221G, and today I am going to discuss about the different type of forms which you may receive if you have applied to the US Embassy or Consulate for a typical visa. So if you apply for the H1 visa, the F1 visa, the J1 visa, even the B1, B2 visa or any other visas, you may be issued this document known as the 221G form. And what happens in this case is that the officer there could not make a decision about your visa case in the few minutes which he has at his disposal. He glanced through some of the material which he has, the information in the DS-160 form and so on, and he would require to have more time to make a decision. Now, of course, many people think that the 221G is a refusal, but it's actually not a refusal. It simply means that the officer needs more time to come up with a decision in your case. So it's not necessary to get very perturbed about this fact. In fact, if you are somebody who has applied for the US visa, you will have many encounters with the 221G. So I have been applying for the US visa for a long time, since the time Ronald Reagan was the president of US to the time Joe Biden was the president of US. So essentially I have had my own share of 221Gs. So I'm going to discuss some of these things today. Now do remember, I'm not an immigration lawyer. Whatever I'm saying is from my personal experience and information I have garnered from the public domain. If you really want to get professional advice, you always need to consult with an immigration attorney. So with that caveat, let's begin. Now, like I mentioned to you, the 221G is given at the end of the visa interview in some cases, and there are two situations here. One of the situations is that the passport may be given back to you, and the second possibility is that the passport may be retained by the consulate concerned. Now, many people have given various kinds of opinion in these cases. In general, the consensus is that if the embassy chooses to keep the passport with themselves, then it's somewhat of a better case. If they return it to you, it may be somewhat of a weaker case. But I would say there is no proof about this fact. In fact, it may simply happen that they have returned the passport to you because you may need to travel elsewhere. Maybe you are somebody who regularly goes on conferences or needs to go on business trips abroad, in which case the embassy may have also returned the visa back to you. So again, that's a debatable issue. So let's move on with the different type of forms which you are likely to get. Now, the color of the form has been a lot of debate or a lot of subject of research among the various people who receive these forms. So let's start with the different colors of the form here. Now, in some cases you may receive a blue form, and blue form essentially means that there is some additional supporting document which is needed for your case, and this is a relatively less severe case. So once you supply this document, they are going to look through it, they are going to peruse it very carefully, and if all the things appear to be right, you may get your visa after some time. So again, in this case, the documents could be that you have not provided your CV, you have not provided a letter from the prospective job employer, or you have not provided your marriage certificate in some cases. So essentially some document is there which the officer would like to see before he can make a decision about the visa case. So essentially in this form, they are going to explicitly mention the document which is required, and what you need to do is to put this document up in the form they have mentioned. Maybe they have asked for a Word file or a PDF file. You should exactly follow the particular requirement and send them this form by email. Now, the next issue is the white form, and the white form is something which is somewhat of a more complex 221G case. In this case, what happens is that they have to go to the USCIS and look deeper into your case. So I have seen that many people who apply from departments or from institutions which are somewhat in the military or defense realm, they often get the 221G white slip. And what this means is that they may ask for your CV, they may ask for your list of publications, they may ask for your employment history and so on, and they want to do some further research on you before they can give you the visa. So in this kind of case, you may have to wait for some time after the USCIS has provided its feedback to the consulate. They can make the decision in this case. So in this case, what happens, they are relying on the USCIS to make decisions. So it is going to be up to the State Department and various departments of the US government to decide on this particular case. Now the third form, which is widely known, is the pink form. This is also sometimes known as the pink slip, and some people also classify the 221G as the pink slip. Now the pink slip is generally given when the officer wants to have some more information or detail about the application you have submitted in your DS-160, and this happens in many cases where they are not completely satisfied about the work history you have mentioned, about the experience you have, about the different countries you have visited in the many years gone by, and so on. So what you need to do is you need to provide a proper background in terms of your work history, your employers, your qualifications, your points of visits in the past, and so on. So again, one of the tricks here is that if you fill your DS-160 application form very carefully, you mention all the past history you have, the names of your employers, the companies you have worked from, the universities you have gone to, and so on, then the likelihood of this kind of pink slip becomes less, or even if you get the pink slip, it may not be something which will take a lot of time to process. Now in this case, they are going to ask you for many documents. Sometimes they may ask you for documents related to your employer, to your history of employment, and so on, even your resume, and they may even do some investigation about the employer you have or you have been applying to in the US. So again, these things take time. So again, here 221G may take some time to process in this case. Now do remember that sometimes there is a case that the officer interviews you and you have not given good feedback to him. So do remember that when you are talking back, you should speak in a slow manner. You should try to answer the questions very specifically and give the replies as they are desired. So again, what happens is that many people are not very well versed in how to speak the English language, at least when it comes to how to speak it to US people. And so try to mention a neutral accent type of situation, or try to speak as slowly as possible, because sometimes when people are nervous, they speak very fast and people cannot follow what they say. So in all these kind of situations, what happens is that the officer has to rely on documents to make his judgment, because he could not get a good reaction out of the person concerned. So for example, if you are applying for a project management job in the US or a senior software engineer job, it is going to be expected that you speak well in the English language. Of course, if you are not going to be able to speak well in English, the officer cannot understand you, then it's not very likely that you are a legitimate candidate for that job. So again, these kind of decisions may be made at any time by the person concerned, and so make sure that you are somebody who matches with the job application they have put in, with your resume, and so on. So if you have some lacunas in there, maybe your English is not so good, maybe you're not somebody who is comfortable in talking to people on a one-on-one setting, try to do some practice for the interview here so that you can answer the typical questions which are asked, such as who you are going to work from, what is your job description, what is the role you are going to do, what is the software you are going to work on, what is the programming language you are going to use, and where is the location of this company, who are the consultants here, where are you going to work, and all these kind of details. So essentially, do remember that many of these people do know things about technical fields and so on, and so they may ask you things. For example, if you are talking about Python or JavaScript or Java, make sure you exactly know what is the language you are going to use and where you are going to apply it. Finally, there is the yellow form, and this is given to some people in case more time is needed to make the decision. So I would say this is also a relatively less problematic case as far as information goes. And so again, in this case, you have to supply all the documents which are asked for you. So I would say the white form and the pink form are the ones which require more work. And again, if you have supplied a lot of the information, you may not get these forms. But if you have supplied less information, maybe your name has been triggered in some database and they want to do some more investigation, then one of the strategies is simply to supply all the documents they ask for, and then wait so that they can make sure that you are a legitimate person, you are the person who has applied for the visa, and you are the person who is actually capable of doing all the work which you have talked about, and somebody who is not a potential threat to the US system. So this was my take on the 221G visa and the 221G forms and so on. Of course, remember that if you do get a complex 221G case, you get rejects, that 6 months have gone by, year has gone by and so on, you may want to consult an immigration attorney for more details, because sometimes what they can do is that they can target specific information which can help your case. So this sometimes happens that in complex cases a lawyer can help you, but most normal cases resolve themselves within a period of 6 months. So essentially I would say in my case the 221Gs took essentially about 2 to 3 months, sometime even 6 weeks. So it's not a big problem in most cases, but in case your 221G is taking way too long, you may think of other professional ways to go about it if you are interested in the US visa. Beside this, also keep a plan B option in all cases. For example, if you are somebody who is a regular as far as 221Gs are concerned in conferences and travel, you may also think of applying for visas to European countries such as the Schengen visa, or maybe going to Japan or Australia for a conference. And if you are somebody who is thinking of migrating to the US and you are getting 221Gs, then you can think of looking for other countries such as Canada, Australia and New Zealand also. So do remember that different countries may have different opinion as far as your visa is concerned. So I'll end my video now, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.